Hey, Dee, I lost 2 whole days this week, and it is your fault.
How is it my fault? What?
Well, last week you told me you were going to read Theo of Golden by Alan Levi. And so I
Hmm.
put a hold on my library. And remember, I talked about how there were hundreds in line?
Yeah.
Well, the library offers these like 7-day book copies, the ebook.
Oh,
They offered me one
cool.
Monday morning. So I started reading Monday and then I couldn't put it down. So I lost 2 days reading that book.
Hmm. Okay, I'm not finished yet, so no spoilers.
Then that is the end of the discussion of Theo of Golden, other than I would give it 5 stars. Let's move on to this week's episode.
Welcome to the Garden Angelist, where we chat about flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I'm Dee Nash from Guthrie, Oklahoma. Yes, I still live in Guthrie, Oklahoma. People ask that, where have two gardens now.
And I'm Carol Michael from Indianapolis, Indiana. I have a suburban garden measured in square feet. It's about a third of an acre.
And we are Garden Angelists because we love gardening. We want you to love it too.
Yes, we do. And we aren't afraid to spill all of our gardening secrets, the good ones, the bad ones, and even the ugly ones. But let's move on to this week's episode. Good morning, Sunday D.
Good morning, Carol. I'm going to go to Mass in about an hour and a half, and so we're whipping this one out.
We are on it. On it. You want to hear
Tell me
about my
about your
garden?
garden. Yeah,
Well,
please.
right after we recorded last week, remember my neighbor came over and gave me some coffee plant seedlings. He said they make great house plants. I got those potted
Yeah,
up.
because you needed another house plant.
Yeah, I did. I did.
Plants. How many did he bring you, Carol?
Well, it was a little tiny container and it had 5 seedlings in it. And so
Oh,
I put
Lord.
all 5 in a 4-inch pot. And I have it right beside me in the other room so I see it and don't forget about it. Weather was not great all week. I did go out and take some pictures for the Garden Bloggers Bloom Day, and I posted that this morning, the 15th.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
And then yesterday, Dee, I took myself down to the Morgan County Master Gardeners Garden Fair. Our friend Deb of the podcast, remember her?
Yes, I do.
I saw her down there. Anyway, it was a great fun time and I bought some things and you know, it's all good. I bought a scented geranium from the same lady I bought one
Ooh.
from last
What
year.
kind did you get? Do you remember?
I think it's called Lemony Rose.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two of my favorite scents, right?
The woman right in front of me, she had 3 of the citronella scented geraniums, which I wasn't all that interested in.
Mm. People think that they repel mosquitoes just by growing
She
them.
whipped up and bought all 3 of those. So
Eh.
I'm like, well, I wasn't interested anyway,
You have
but
to rub it on your skin and then it
anyway.
helps. That's what I would say is it helps. I should sit
Anyway.
back and look comfortable.
I should also note the first
Hmm.
booth as you go in was used garden books.
Oh,
Bum,
wow.
bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. I bought 3,
Oh, no.
but they were like $1, $2, $3. I spent $6. But then I got home and I realized I already have the one.
Darn it.
I'm like, why didn't I look it up? I have all this recorded
I don't
in a
know.
database.
Things
Anyway,
happen, right?
your garden.
My garden, I trimmed back all the roses that I brought to the house and I watered the horrible landscapers plants in my front flower bed here, just because I can't stand to just watch them perish slowly. And then I worked on my sprinkler system, which still does not work right, and I cannot figure it out. So I've got to call Grooms Irrigation for that. And then what else did I do? I watered my houseplants. I moved 2 more houseplants to here. I moved my newest monstera that's variegated and it's sitting right over there. And then I moved my pink princess philodendron over here. And
Nice.
yeah, that's all the gardening I did. No, that's not true. I went over to the old house and I trimmed up some of those roses, did a couple of videos.
I saw them.
I did 3 videos and then I did one inside the house.
So I have a suggestion for those landscaper plants, which you may or may not accept.
Throw them in the trash.
No, no, no.
They're really bad.
Well,
Carol.
huh?
I'm looking at one of them and it's literally a juniper and then they limbed it up. And there's nothing really uglier than that lollipop.
I was going to suggest you put out a sign that says free plants. You dig them, you take them. And then if any of your neighbors want them, they could just dig them up and take
My
them.
neighbors have their own version of the same thing. So no, they don't.
Okay. All right.
Let's
I
play
know when trash
favorites.
day is.
Yeah, trash day is always Thursday. unless it's a holiday.
Same here.
Okay, so playing favorites. You come up with yours and I'll think about mine.
Well, I have so many choices this week. It's like a little mini explosion. Even though the weather's not been terribly wonderful, it's been kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff's blooming everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Leaves are starting to come out. Magnolia's in bloom.
It's a
But
little
I'm going to give a
early.
shout out. Huh?
It's a little early, isn't it?
It is. And they're going to get zapped. And I'll talk
Yeah,
about that in the garden
mine
commissions.
too.
Spring beauties, the Claytonia virginica. And I've been trying to get those to naturalize the last couple of years in my lawn
Yeah,
in this one area. And they are up. I have a not great picture of them on my blog, and we'll just link to that. But I'm very thrilled that, they've come up again and there's a few more. So that's all good.
yeah, that is
How about
good.
you? Did you think of something?
Yeah, because you said it, deciduous magnolia. I have some great
Oh, yeah.
pictures of that. I did. I took some the other day, put them on my Instagram story. People went nuts because when it's in bloom, there's nothing prettier. Oh, and that reminds me,
Oh,
I talked to my neighbor, Gabriel, who I really like, by the way, Gabriel
good.
and Alexa. Anyway, Gabriel and I talked about that horrible eastern red cedar that is right between our two properties. And he goes, I think
Yes.
that's on your land. And I said, great, because it's going. It's going so fast, you won't know what happened. And I explained why. So the point of that is I'm going to put a deciduous magnolia in its spot
Very
because they
nice.
like
Very
sun.
nice. All right. Now let's talk about the question of the week, which was becoming quite common for my youngest sister to send me.
Gardening questions.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So she says, what can I plant after the cold snap? Because there's a cold snap coming.
Mm-hmm. Here too.
And peas, lettuce, radish, spinaches, kale.
Yep.
And then she sends me this video taken from Facebook, which is
Always,
not a good sign.
always
Anyway,
skeptic. Yeah.
they had boiled cornstarch in water,
Oh,
let it cool down, mixed seed into it, and then poured it in a trench and said that was a way you could sow tiny seeds. And
oh my
she says,
goodness.
does this really work? I'm like, no, absolutely no. I said, you can get seed tape and you can make seed tape. So we had a brief exchange about seed tape, which is where they have used something, sometimes it's cornstarch, and they have attached the seed to this biodegradable tape. And then you lay that out for like carrots, especially is the one I think is, and maybe lettuce.
Mm-hmm.
So now she wants some. I was like, where do I order it? And I'm like, go to the store. But she works and she's like, can I just hit a button and get it?
Johnny's has it.
I could send her to Johnny's, or actually I might text her today and say, hey,
Burpee.
I'm going to go head down to Rural King and I'm going to look for you. I'll get you some seed tape. So anyway,
I don't see it much here in the stores, but it's very popular online.
yes,
Here's the thing. I just mix my seed sometimes in sand, but a lot of times I'll just put it in my hand very gently, just
yes,
put it out there. I mean, I think we overthink this stuff.
I think we do too. And remember, I have those plastic strips that have holes in different places, like so
Right.
you can sow like lettuce, you just put it in the little hole. And if I took those out there and used that would be a great way to slow down and just get like one seed, especially like radishes, one little seed in each one. So anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
all right.
Okay, the insect of the week. I don't know where my voice has suddenly decided to go because we're recording. Any other time it would be just fine, but here
Exactly.
we go. All right, midges or no-see-ums. And this information comes from one of my favorite companies, insectshield.com.
Yes. And so, sometimes you go out to the garden and you come back in and you've been bitten, but you swear you never saw an insect. It's probably midges, depending on where you live.
Yeah.
And they have a real nice article about it. We're going to link to it, not talk too much about them. I mean, you can't really see them. But I remember when I was in high school for church, we went on Boundary Waters canoe trip up in Minnesota, where, the idea was 4 days, 3 nights out in the wilderness. And, there's no makeup, there's no curling irons, you're just going to be out there in nature. But you had to have an insecticide on you because the no-see-ums were especially bad and you could just get bit all to pieces. So
Yes,
anyway,
and insect shield clothing, because it has pyrethrin embedded in it, will protect you from all of these things. And it's also pretty much waterproof until, your clothing wears out. And so we're going to link to my insect shield post about how to wear it.
Okay.
Because you need to tuck things in because you're creating one whole layer.
Right.
And no, it will not soak into your skin.
Right.
I get asked that question all the time.
So anyway, midges, no-see-ums. And when you come in, you have mysterious bites. It's usually that. Next week, we'll talk about something else it might be. All right.
Could be that, and it could be, tiny ticks. But we can talk about that next week, along with that other insect we're going to talk about. Is it an insect or is it?
We'll find out.
That would be interesting. All right, do the quote, my dear.
It was one of those March days when the sun shines hot and the wind blows cold, when it is summer in the light and winter in the shade. Charles Dickens. We've used that before, but I'm telling you what, that is March. That is March.
That is just March in a nutshell.
Yes.
Did you see where somebody turned one of the things I said in that one video into a quote?
I did. That's exciting.
That was really exciting. I think we should use it next week. When I said it, I didn't think much about
Yes,
it, but
we're going to use it.
Okay, flowers. Other bedding plant flowers you can plant in early spring besides pansies and violas. Is there anything like that, Carol?
There is. There is. And I'm going to go through a couple of things that will do just fine in the cold.
Yeah.
Sweet alyssum is the first one, and tiny, tiny little flowers. It's to put around the edge of the pot. It is very sweet scented,
Smells like honey.
draws in pollinators. Now, in your climate, I think that once the heat hits, it's done, and you can plant it again in the fall. I can sometimes get some of the newer varieties to over summer, as I say, keeping them well watered. And
I can occasionally, as long as they don't dry out. They can never dry out.
and that's enough about sweet alyssum. What's the next one on the list, Dee?
It's Dusty Miller, and there are different types of Dusty Miller. There's one with a wider leaf, and then there's one with that kind of ferny foliage leaf,
Right.
for lack of a better word. I like the one with the wider leaf personally. I think it's pretty, and it's a good foliage plant, has small hairs, so it's silvery. It's a very old-fashioned plant, but it really does handle the cold pretty well.
Yes, and I think you're thinking of the one, the Cenotia Angel Wings is the big one.
Maybe. Mm-hmm.
That one to me is one that shows up in May at the garden center or at the greenhouse. I'm thinking about the old-fashioned Dusty Millers.
The lazy one.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's pretty.
I used to hate it, but it was one of Claire's favorite plants. I even wrote a post about it way back when.
I think I remember this.
And the next one is ranunculus, which we cannot really grow in Oklahoma. I mean,
No.
flower farmers can sometimes grow them, but I would not waste my time.
Well, and the way I look at it is Courtney's growing them up at the greenhouse. You kind of have to have the trick for it, and you got to start them pretty early because once the heat arrives, they're done. So I would, she'll have some out there, and if I go up there like the week before Easter and they look really good, I might buy some to put in a little planter for Easter. But then it's sort of like a cut flower. Once it's done blooming, there's not much else you can do with it. I hate to say, short-lived, get rid of it.
Yeah. And then I just thought of one just a minute ago, and it's poppies. And you have different choices in poppies. There are the Shirley poppy type, and then there's the big tall poppies. There's the bread poppies. There's also those blue Himalayan poppies. Don't even try those. They're almost impossible to grow.
So you can buy these as bedding plants in Oklahoma?
You can actually right now, which is
I think
weird.
I've seen them a few times.
I personally would grow them from seed, but some people do them as bedding plants.
Snapdragons. You can always find snapdragons in early spring. They do fine in the cold.
I think they do fine in the cold, and lately the new ones do fine all summer long if they get a little bit of shade in the afternoon. So this is a good plant to put in your garden.
Yes, and
it adds a little bit of height. Well, I mean, there's different heights, but let's say we're just buying the bedding plants and they get about that tall. Well, 6 inches, 6 to 8 inches. So they add a lot of height to where the violas and pansies are.
Yes, and you can get them even much taller than that. The tall rocket, I think they call them. The trick...
I have to grow those from seed. I can't get those in bedding.
The trick is to deadhead them.
All the time. Yeah.
All the time, deadhead them. And I was going to say, obviously, sweet alyssum, ranunculus, deadheading doesn't matter. But with snapdragons, if you keep deadheading them, I mean, I had one that came up in the patio last year and bloomed all the way till the very bitter end.
Right.
So they're pretty tough little plants. I like to have a few
And they're
snapdragons
fun
around.
because you can make you can pull off the blooms and make
Exactly.
them into little dragons for your children, grandchildren, neighbors, whatever.
And then at Halloween, the little dried seed heads look like little skulls.
Yeah, so it's fun.
Yeah.
All right. And then stock.
We've talked about stock many times.
Yeah.
Old fashioned. I tried some from seed. I got a few blooms out there, but I started them much too late. In the right places, you can find stock as a bedding plant.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I don't think Courtney's got much stock up there at the greenhouse, but there's another place that might have some. But I grow it for the scent.
Yeah, and you've got to grow it early. It needs to come in early.
Right.
So it's a good one though. Oh, now finally in the stores you can get bulbs.
Yes. And we're
You can
talking
get
about
tete-a-tete daffodils, the little
well, I'm talking
daffodils.
about like little 4-inch pots where they put like a
Yeah.
single tulip, a single hyacinth, a
Hmm.
single daffodil, and you can put those. And if you're wanting to do like a container, like a special container for Easter or whatever, and I'm terrible about growing bulbs in the containers over the winter. They just rot for me.
Hmm.
You could totally put some of these in there and have a really nice display.
You could, and here are the tete-a-tete daffodils, the Chinese, I can't remember the name of it. Chinese something, the white ones that have the bright yellow cup. I'll
Uh-huh.
think of it later. Those are both sold all the time in 4-inch pots now. Easy to find. And part of that's because both of these start to bloom about the moment that they come out of the ground. And then
Mm-hmm.
they keep blooming as the stem lengthens, which
Right.
almost all bulbs do, if not all. So,
Right. All right. That's our suggestion of other things besides pansies and violas to plant in early spring. And then around here by Memorial Day, you're ripping it all out and planting warm season stuff. But let's not talk about that. Let's go into the vegetable topic.
to welcome her, the spring's breath forth, Alicia, I know how to say Elysian sweets, March strews the earth with violets and posies. Edmund Waller, or Waller, because it could be German. This is Old English or Middle English. It's really hard. Why did I pick it?
I don't know. I'm just sitting here looking at it. I'm reading it to myself. And I would have just picked March strews the earth with violets and posies and be done with it.
Yeah, there you go. Elysian sweets. All right, vegetables. And then we thought we would talk a little bit about how to prepare your vegetable garden soil for the growing season because I mean, growing any plant is about good soil. We've talked about this endlessly, but especially vegetables, because vegetables are high producers and they need really good, rich, fertile soil. And by rich, I mean balanced. I don't mean just nitrogen, because then
Right.
you will have insect trouble. So, Carol, go ahead.
So we're going to talk about three kinds of gardens. So there's the traditional in the ground where you basically have to go out and I don't want to say basically, but generally the ground gets turned up over in the spring and rototilled and you form new beds and everything. And then
Or
there's raised beds.
people put down lasagna type beds. But here's the deal. In Oklahoma, those don't really work because of Bermuda grass. You can't
Yes.
kill out the grass. Okay, keep going.
Then I have raised beds in mine where I have like a
Me
stone
too.
edge around all the beds. It's the same places. And so you do need to think about the soil in there. And then you have like the Vego beds, big metal containers. And first thing people realize with some sort of shock is that, that's going to take a lot of soil.
It does take a lot of soil. You can do hugelkultur, but you're going to still have to replace soil every year. It's the same way with all of this stuff. People are always surprised that you need to top up the soil in these
Yes.
raised beds and in Vego beds. And that's because the organic matter decays, whether
Yes.
you have small organic matter or big.
Now, here's another thing. So the a waitress at one of the places I eat lunch sometimes during the week, she knows I know gardening. She has her rental she rents.
Mhm.
And the landscapers that were doing the lawn were cutting off some into her vegetable garden that she was trying to have. So she got the idea to take 5-gallon buckets
Mhm.
and drill a hole in the bottom and then put those around to sort of form a border. And then she's going to plant into those.
Okay.
So I said, "What are you using for soil?" And she's basically digging the soil out of the vegetable garden and putting it in the pot. And I said,
Not a good plan.
"Not a
Doesn't
good,"
drain
I
well.
said, "Well, it needs more organic matter than is probably in that soil." And then I said, "How many holes did you punch?" She punched one hole with a Phillips head screwdriver. And I said, "Well," and it was raining that day. I said, "When you go home, check the drainage on those. That soil's going to get really compacted and you don't have enough drainage holes. You need about 10 of those holes, if not more. Or I would have put in like 1 inch size holes."
Hmm.
So, and then I hated to say, dump all that soil back in the garden and buy some soil. But I think when I go in next time, I say, you really do need to buy some good soil. So let's talk
Yeah.
about buying good soil, Dee.
Okay, so you need to, you probably want organic because most people want organic vegetables if they're going to grow them. In my case, I can't use regular organic soil because it has both bone meal in it and manure. But there are a couple of brands that I can buy that have chicken manure in them and chicken, like what they call feather meal. And I can do those. So look on
Yes.
the ingredients of your potting soil or whatever kind of soil you get because there's raised bed soil too.
Right. And check to see if it has like the first ingredient is wood fiber, pass.
No, pass.
No.
Because it's not broken down enough.
And so you do want, when you open the bag, it should smell earthy. It should not be sour or gross. Some people like
Mm-mm.
that's just like if it's all mucky and clumped together, that's not good. And
It's
so
not going to
kind of
drain
look
well.
around. There's always a broken bag. Don't break a bag at the store. There's always a broken bag sitting there. Smell it, touch it, look at it. Clumpy, get rid of it. Sour smell, no. It should just smell earthy and look like a good soil.
Yeah. It should look like
And
compost with some sand in it
there
or
you
core
go.
fiber or peat moss. That's what it
And
should look
even in
like.
my raised beds, I try to top dress with some compost every year. Now I put
Yeah.
leaves on in the fall and then I work those in. And so I'm constantly adding organic matter. So I don't have to go buy bags of soil to add to it. And one of the things people ask about was, well, what about cover crops? Those are
Hmm.
fall planted.
Can't do those now.
So if you have cover crops, you said get rid of those now? Yeah.
No, you can't do those now unless you're
No.
not going to plant a summer garden. So don't do that.
And I did notice if you did plant a cover crop in the fall, now's the time to knock that back. You don't want it to get really established in the spring. It's done its job of loosening up the soil, adding organic matter. You can work it in. And I did see one soil and water conservation district guy, and he had the annual ryegrass, which people are surprised can grow up to like 3 feet tall.
Yeah, it gets huge.
And so instead of like ripping that out, he sort of cuts it down and lays it down and stamps it down and creates a mulch out of that. And then he plants right into that, which does deter weeds, but it's not the most attractive looking garden.
No.
But it does
Um,
deter weeds.
if you are going to cut back your cover crop now, which you should, you want to cut it back, don't you, and lay it on top of your soil and let it
Yes.
dry before you work it into it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then do you leave the little clumps of plants in your soil or do you pull them up?
I would tend to pull those up just because I don't want them to interfere with where I'm planting. Now, it's been a while since I've actually put a cover crop on there.
Yeah.
Again, I use dried leaves and that kind of takes care of me. So,
Yeah. I used to use shredded leaves. I don't have so many leaves. Well, okay. I still have the old house. So I still have leaves, but they're back there. And believe me, I will not be moving them over here because I don't want to create another fancy tick environment. So,
so when they cut down the eastern red cedar, are you going to have them leave the chippings as mulch for you
yeah.
to use?
Yeah.
That'll be good. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think with soil is not, it's not an exciting topic, but
But it's important.
it's an important topic.
It's cornerstone.
And if you have Vago beds and they've like sunk down, you do need to add some more soil to it. And even my containers out there, I added more potting soil to them when I planted the pansies because they had all kind
Hmm.
of sunk down. You pull stuff out and you pull out dirt. And so,
I put in, I use either potting mix that's a really good organic potting mix, like I said, with poultry manure, or I use a raised bed soil.
there you go.
I just have to
All right.
check the ingredients.
I'm going to do
Oh
the
man,
quote.
gotta do the quote. And then we're already to the bookshelf. Look how we are speeding through this morning.
In March, the soft rains continued, and each storm waited courteously until its predecessor sunk beneath the ground. John Steinbeck.
That
Not
doesn't
always.
really happen here, but I like that.
I don't know about that. Okay, on the bookshelf, Modern Floriography, Flowers, Gardens, and Gifts Inspired by the Language of Flowers by Teresa, and I'm going to apologize. I'm probably not going to get this name right. Sabankaya.
You did all right. Sabankaya. Maybe Sabankaya. I don't know.
This
Okay,
is a fun
so
book, Dee. It's beautiful too.
oh, it's so pretty. And it's actually it's an expensive book to produce because the pages are still shiny and the
Yes.
cover is shiny. So this was not cheap to produce. It is a beautiful book, and I think it's just worth owning because it is so pretty and it has really good information.
So the way this is we've talked about floriography, where what flowers you sent in the Victorian era told you what the message was.
Mm-hmm.
And so Teresa has, and she wrote the Posy book, I think it's called, and
Which
we
is a
have reviewed
great
that
book.
one.
Yeah.
But this book has a floral design. It says history, gardening wrapped into one beautifully illustrated book. And here's what she wrote. But somewhere during the course of history, between the ancient hieroglyphics to Shakespeare's literature to the present day, we have all but lost the delicate and splendorous use of our flowers and plants to signify and give depth and meaning to special moments, milestone events, and the countless momentous feelings we perceive throughout our lives. I'm at the very introduction, Dee. And she opens up by talking about the state funeral for Her
Yeah, I
Majesty
thought that
Queen
was really
Elizabeth.
good because I knew that her flowers represented all kinds of things.
Yes,
So
every flower had
the forward
meaning.
was actually I gotta clarify something. The forward was actually written by Jennifer Jewell,
Ah, very
who is
nice.
from California and wrote she does Cultivating Place, which is her podcast, and she's written
Right.
some books too. So I love the introduction that the author wrote, and I want you to read the beginning of that about the state funeral.
She wrote, at her state funeral, the flowers that were placed atop the coffin of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth were laden with connotations, sentiments, and symbolism. With intent, they were chosen to convey reverences of remembrance, love, beauty, gratitude, and much more. Within the flowers, herbs, and plants used in this composition, we witnessed a bestowing of great honor and respect for a mother and a queen through the language of flowers. A wonderful example of modern floriography.
Which is so fitting because the queen was a gardener and she cared deeply about the landscape of her country along with her people. So it was her funeral was just about perfect in so many
Yes.
ways. Okay,
And then,
so floriography, keep going. Mhm.
well, and then throughout the book, so there's great information on how to make posies and arrange flowers. There's, she talks about the plants, the different meanings, and then
Mhm.
she's got garden notes on them so that if you decide to grow some of these plants, how you might do that. Just some real nice, I mean, it's just an uplifting book in my mind. It's
It
uplifting
is
and it
uplifting.
gives a new way to
So,
look at flowers and giving of flowers and
in honor
growing
of,
certain flowers in order to
sorry,
give them.
man, you're wound up about this. In honor of the book, I'm going to send my photograph of the bouquet my priest gave me when he came over. He's our friend. He came over
Uh-huh.
for dinner the other night and he gave me a very unusual bouquet, which had a lot of meaning. And so it fits right into her deal about bouquets.
Great. I can't wait to see that.
It's pretty.
So anyway, I'm sorry to be so wound up, but I just think it's
No,
a
it's
beautiful
okay.
book and
It
I
is a
really am
really
enjoying
beautiful
it.
book. Yeah.
You want to hold it up again and tell us the title just in case people like, what? What are they talking about?
Modern Floriography, Flowers, Gardens, and Gifts, inspired by the language of flowers by Teresa Sabankaya.
There you go. That's on the bookshelf.
I like
I will
that book a
do
lot.
a
I will
quote.
keep that one
Oh,
forever.
you will do a quote.
Is it time to do a
Yes.
quote? Sorry, I have to pan down. March, when days are getting long, let thy growing hours be strong to set right some wintry wrong. Caroline May.
The days are longer because we forwarded those clocks.
Yeah, that was kind of rough. Dirt. So you found our dirt.
The Sussex fairy fossil. Dee, they discovered this in 2015, and 11 years later, we are just finding out about it. And there was a little post on Instagram, but then I'm going to link to a YouTube video. And then there was a thing on Facebook, which was fairly extensive. But they found this stone on a beach on the south coast of Sussex, England, 2015. And it's supposedly the fossil of a relatively large fairy. And so the shows a full skeleton, traces of petrified bone-like material, and even the iridescence from the creature's wings, all preserved in the surrounding matrix. So the question is, real or fake?
Real or Memorex?
And it says the scientific community would approach such a find with rigorous analysis,
Yeah.
while the public would be drawn to the enchanting possibility of connecting folklore and tangible evidence. As research progresses, the fossil could illuminate new aspects of both ancient history and the enduring allure of mythical beings. What do you think, Dee?
I don't think it's real,
I don't think it's real either, but
but it's fun.
it is. The Sussex fairy fossil. It reminds me of the Cottingham fairies that we talked about several years ago, where
Yeah.
those little girls faked some pictures of fairies in the garden and everybody thought they were real.
Everybody believed it.
Sir Arthur
And
Conan Doyle was all
I
like,
love
they're
him.
real, they're real. And it's like, you know,
Yeah. And Harry
Yeah.
Houdini was like, no, they're not. No, they're not.
then
So
they weren't, and they weren't.
That's
And the girls
right.
never really confessed.
No.
Not
And
until
they,
maybe one of them was like an old lady.
yeah. Well,
Anyway,
it was a big deal. It would be embarrassing to confess, I guess. So,
anyway.
do you want to do the next quote?
The true nature of the human heart is as whimsical as spring weather. All signals may aim toward a fall of rain when suddenly the skies will clear. Maya Angelou.
So, rabbit holes. I'm trying to think if I have a rabbit hole. I've been awfully busy this week, Carol.
You have been busy. We will link to your Instagram post about why you have been so busy.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't really have one. And then yours is Theo of Golden. Boy, I'm glad I
Yes.
told you about that book.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dee. And I did watch an interview with the author, and
Mhm.
he's from Georgia. Sounds like a guy from Georgia. He also writes songs. He's been a lawyer, a judge, just a very interesting
Kind
man.
of a Renaissance man.
Kind of a Renaissance man. And
My favorite.
anyway, I highly recommend Theo of Golden by Alan Levi as a good book to read and get yourself lost in. Give yourself a little reassurance that humanity is still out there, at least in this
Yeah.
fiction book.
I think that would be a great thing to read right now. Turn off the news and read Theo
Turn off
of
the
Golden.
news and read Theo of Golden.
It'll make you feel better.
And then
Are-
I've been looking at the Lost Ladies of Garden Writing, and I'm going back to Hannah Ryan. And I
Mhm.
talked about her on the podcast a while back because I read her biography that somebody wrote. But I think the most of the world does not know who she was.
Mhm.
She's the one. She's famous for. I can't remember the quote. I mean, I'd have to go look it up. I was just reading it. Gardening awakens the five senses. That quote.
Yes, 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 yes.
That's her quote. So anyway, I'm doing that and, just keeping my head above water.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's sometimes hard. Okay, so the quote is the greatest gift of the garden is the restoration of the five senses.
Thank you, Dee.
And okay, so this is the moment where I talk about the game in connection with that. Are you
Sure.
ready?
Yes.
All right. So there have been a number of people in season 2 who have quit the game, and a lot of them were my really good friends. And all of them have said that they were able to restore their five senses because they all got so wrapped up in the game that that's all they did. And they didn't go outside and touch grass. And so that's a good cautionary tale.
It is.
It is. So there you go. Don't get so wrapped up in online stuff that you forget to go out and have a life.
And which reminds me, and I've got to think a minute. I read something and I actually wrote it down as a quote, or I don't know. But basically, we don't remember as much because it's just flying by on a screen. when you
Mhm.
go out and actually do or
Has to do with
touch
your hands.
or go to a movie and watch for 2 hours and not just like 15 minutes and then you're on to the next thing where
Hmm.
there's a pause afterward to let that memory get sucked into you so that you
Deeply.
can move it from short-term memory to long-term memory.
And there's been lots and lots of information about doing things with your hands, baking, cleaning house, going outside and gardening, things like that where your hands have to touch things because that
Yes.
helps your mind to absorb them. And the other thing is about bird song. Apparently, we really need real bird song, not artificially induced bird song, not recorded. We need real bird song because it helps stabilize our moods. It's very
Yes.
interesting.
So I remember now where I read that. I actually listened to the book, The Brain at Rest, Why Doing Nothing Can Change Your Life by Joseph Jabelli.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to that book end of last week, beginning of, I don't know, recently. And I think that's where I read that. And I've since saw some other things because I don't know,
Because
algorithms.
the algorithm sends them to you. All right.
Anyway,
So, shall we go into our garden to visit?
sure.
This is one of my favorite gardens that we ever went to, and mostly because I spent a lot of it indoors. Because the day we visited the Huntington Gardens, the botanical gardens at the Huntington, which is a famous art museum, famous interiors, it was 106 degrees
It was
Fahrenheit.
very hot.
It was the hottest I've ever been in my entire life. And they were all like, come to the desert garden. And I was like, oh my gosh, no.
I did, yeah. We went to the rose garden and you kind of walked up the hill and there was a Chinese garden.
Yes, that's
And I
as
was
far
like,
as I
I got to
got.
have a popsicle up here. It's so hot. And then you kind of walk down and you and I sat in the gift shop cafe area. And then yeah, I remember our friend Deb said, are you guys going to go down and see the cactus in the desert garden? I'm like, no, we're
No.
going to sit here in the air conditioning.
So then I went and looked at all the art, and it's very famous for a lot of things, including Blue Boy and then the little girl. I can't remember the name of her, but those are two famous paintings they have. And interestingly enough, I didn't realize we were doing the Huntington, but I just remember this whole part of the trip very well. We sat with Pam for quite a while at the deal and had tea and stuff. Anyway, and Marianne Newcomer, we sat with her too. So I went in there, and that interior was used extensively in a murder mystery that I watched. And I can't remember the name of the murder mystery, but it was supposed to be super mysterious and a true story, and it wasn't that great. But the interiors were amazing because they were the Huntington,
Yes.
that
And
house and all the different museums.
and I'm looking at they have a library there. And I was trying to think, did we see a Guggenheim Bible there?
Maybe.
I was trying to see, don't
Don't quote us on that.
Here's our recommendation. Go when it's not 106 degrees. Plan an entire day. There is too much to see in just
It's
a few hours. This
beautiful.
is a whole day place
Hmm.
and you will quite enjoy it. All right.
It was one of my favorite places we've ever been. Okay, garden commissions. Mine is I've got to work on the paths at the old house. And then I've got to plant some zinnia seed in my raised flower beds because I want it to look pretty for when people come to look at the house. I hope to put the house on the market in middle of April to end of April. But Bill is having some health problems, and so it's dependent on him
Sure.
how much I get done. But I've really got to get that house on the market. It's time.
Yes. Yes. And mine is I need to text the landscaper who's supposed to be come out to fix the vegetable garden because I don't want to sow my peas, etc., until he's done that. And I should
Sure.
be sowing peas on the 17th, but the low temperature that morning is going to be an astounding 13 degrees. So I wouldn't have probably sowed that day anyway.
No,
People say, what about your pansies and violas? As long as it doesn't stay 13 for days on end and it's
they'll
supposed
be
to bounce
okay.
right back, they'll be fine. So I will probably set up the patio stuff later in the week, get all that stuff out. Garden Club is going to a special exhibit at the Newfields Art Museum where they take local florists and floral designers come up with bouquets that match the art.
I
And
love
so
that.
we're going to go see that. That'll be very nice. And yeah, I'm possibly going to start my seeds for peppers and tomatoes, but I've got a couple of weeks. I'm not
I'm
too
just going
worried
to buy
about
a
it.
few plants this year because depending on when the house sells, and besides, I want my Vega pots to look full. So I'm going to do some of that this year instead of starting seeds. But normally I would start my seeds mid-March for peppers and stuff. Oh,
Cool.
interestingly enough, I saw a Bulgarian recipe for these stuffed peppers that were
Uh-huh.
big, long peppers. And so I sent it to my friend and I said, "What kind of peppers are these?" And he said, "Well, they're Bulgarian, so you can't get them." And I said, "Oh, well, I'll just use some peppers here because we have they're sweet, some long sweet peppers that I can probably even buy at the store." And he's he can get focused. He found me some on eBay, some
Nice.
seeds. Now, whether I go buy those or not, I mean, that seems like a lot of trouble, but they are really big, which is a little bit hard to find here. And so he was like, "You could use bell peppers." And I was like, "I don't really like bell peppers anymore. I like the thinner skin." So I need to decide if I'm going to buy those pepper seeds or not. And I thought of one more thing. I need to get my, what is that thing called? Irrigation system. I need to get it fixed. I really do.
Very good. Well, I need to get my dryer fixed. I decided not to dry clothes anymore.
Oh, they do that sometimes. The
They
element
do.
runs out. Darn it.
All right.
All right, wrap us
Done.
up, girl.
Thank you for listening to The Garden Angelist. We publish every week on Wednesdays at 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Be sure and follow us on Apple Podcasts. That helps us get noticed by others.
And if you subscribe to our Substack newsletter, you'll get a link to listen to the podcast a whole day early and links to products we discuss. Plus, go over to YouTube and see us in person. Full episodes show up on Tuesdays. So if you can't wait until Wednesday, you now have 2 ways to get episodes on Tuesdays.
And if you want to help support us, use our affiliate links. If you buy something after clicking through on them, we earn a small commission and it costs you nothing.
Or you can set up a monthly subscription through Buzzsprout or make a one-time donation through PayPal. You also have the option of pledging your support on Substack.
Thank you to everyone who has done so. It helps us pay for podcast hosting.
It was lovely to chat with all of you over the garden gate this week. Bye until next week.
Bye, everybody.